Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's a beautiful day, and we're here. And have you ever walked into a retail establishment and you had some sort of a question, some sort of a idea that retail or anything about retail? Because we have Miriam she's a pirate now. Miriam, how you doing?
I feel like I should be saying some corny "war."
Not required.
I'm doing great. It's a little bit. I'm in the beautiful country of Ireland, so it's not quite as sunny here. It's beautifully damp, shall we say?
I'll send you some sunshine from Arizona.
Please do.
Yes. You know, it's interesting how we have evolved over the last year, and retail has really taken a major hit, impact, transition, transformation, whatever you want to say. And I know that you've been so amazing at helping some of these business owners kind of build strategy, and you've been at the top in most retail chains that we would probably recognize, and many in the European market that are probably unfamiliar to me. However, for those that haven't met you or don't know who you are, kind of give us a snapshot of who you're helping right now and how you're helping them.
Wow. Well, my background is hardcore retail, like you said. So when the pandemic hit, I sort of got sucked straight back into retail very quickly. So I have several streams to my business. So I work with retail business owners, so CEOs and board level of chains on growth strategy and how to grow their business. So I work with bigger retailers in that space. Mm-hmm. And then, but actually since the pandemic hit, I now work with smaller retailers, both in groups and one-to-one. So I have a group called the Retail Powerhouse, which is where if you have a mom and pop store or you have one or two or three and you're not a millionaire retailer, you can still get access to really high level consultancy. And we do a weekly live. It's all very enclosed, and we bring in specialists. So for example, we had somebody come in and taught everybody how to do TikToks and how to commercialize TikTok to help drive their business digitally. We've brought in people to show them visual tricks and how to look after their windows. And then also they have access to me. But in a group format, it's actually quite manageable. And then I do a lot of retail webinars for groups of retailers all over Ireland and the UK, where I might have 150 retailers from a county, and we're talking to them about how to be really nimble and how to trade. And actually for a lot of the last 14 months, that was about how to trade from behind closed doors. So essentially how to stay in business. And we've had some amazing success. You know, I have stories of retailers that despite being closed, doubled their turnover last year, because a little bit of focus goes a long way. So
it's amazing to see how many business owners have really discovered new opportunities. And, you know, like we were talking before the show started, home delivery has really evolved in time. It's really one of those things that a lot of business owners have had to adopt. Some have adopted it very well, and some are still evolving through that process.
Well, there's a few trends around that. So as we reopen, and I think we're a little bit behind you. We're only just we've only been reopened about 10 days for non-essential retail. I think that's the correct terminology. So for non-essential retail, only opened on the 17th of May. But there's a couple of trends that are emerging, and they're emerging globally, so that they'll impact no matter where you live. So first of all, the whole green delivery piece. So for example, I live in a town in Ireland called Drogheda. And in Drogheda, there is now a business called Pedal Power. So, and Pedal Power is basically a chap and his wife and his relatives with electric bikes. So it means that anything that you buy locally in the town, you can have delivered in under an hour. So you can go online, buy locally, and have it delivered online. So we're going to see more of this green, fast and efficient and green delivery. And localization is going to be a major trend in retail. I'll probably talk about that in a few minutes, but also. It's not all just about delivery. So I know a lot of retailers are a little bit uncomfortable. So what we are seeing is lots of more mom and pop stores and smaller retailers opting for click and collect or buy online, pick up in store. And that's going to be a trend that will outlive the pandemic. So I think that's going to be a really key trend that'll be around for quite some time. So there's a few things that have happened in the pandemic that obviously we've all changed our own behaviors of how we shop, but there's a few trends that I think will stay for the long term, even as we come out of this,
Yeah. What do you see as being, delivery is going to be one, online shopping is going to be another. I mean, the systems and solutions that business owners have access to now are just really, they're emerging and evolving, and Amazon leading the trend and some of those, but you have a lot of different online stores that business owners can actually do drop ship and
absolutely. Well, there's a few really massive trends for retail that I think are going to be here for the medium term. So one of them is this whole piece around localization. So we are seeing this real. It is going to be about nearer to home. It's going to be about less of a product journey, so to speak. And the sustainability piece is going to lean into that as well. So the commuter, the amount of people that were commuting is going to be far reduced for going forward. So of everybody that stopped commuting, maybe a third of that footfall will go back to commuting. So you're going to see a lot more localization. You're going to see a lot more of the big retailers looking for more urban space, with smaller stores and bigger stock rooms. But actually also the getting digital, it has never been more affordable. So it's a bit of a scary thing if you're a traditional retailer and you've never done it, but it's actually never been more affordable. And I have to say, in Ireland, I was quite proud of us as a little country. The Irish government made what they did to support retail when the sugar honey iced tea hit the fan last year, and everybody was told, go home and don't come out. And
lock your doors and stay home.
Lock your doors, yeah. So when that happened, what happened was the Irish government actually really leaned into some grants that they were already offering on a low-key basis and blew them up. So if you were a small business and a small retailer, the Irish government said, we'll get you online. Spend this time and get yourself put online, and we'll pay for it. We'll give you $5,000. Wow. And we'll pay for your website or your website and some digital marketing. And if you were a big retailer, if you employed more than 10 people, you could have claimed up to $40,000 for a company to come in and build your website. So there was a massive drive last spring onwards, to get as many retailers in Ireland digital as possible. And that's been really effective. We've not had quite as much carnage as the likes of the UK from that respect, possibly because of that. I think in the UK, 18,000 stores closed last year, and they're expecting the same amount this year. But in Ireland, we were actually a little bit more protected than you would imagine, because we did do that, let's get digital. And I think Ireland, believe it or not, is the biggest country in the world for AI development at the moment. Really? So per capita, yes, wow. Yeah, and definitely the biggest in Europe. So the amount of, what happened was, basically we were all told, go home, close the doors and don't come out. So what happened was that a lot of clever people were told to go home and close the doors and not come out. So they
started working.
They did. So we saw about nearly a decade of innovation happened in a year, which is what happened during the Spanish flu as well, if you remember.
Yeah.
So we're just now waiting for the roaring 20s now. So
let's wait for the let's not wait. Let's start it now.
Yeah. It's just we're just ready. So localization is going to be a really big thing. The whole digitalization piece, but the sustainability piece had started before the pandemic. There had been this move towards sustainability and a circular economy, and that got paused because, to be honest, we were all in a crisis. So
Yeah.
we all just started using what we needed with masks and everything. But
Yeah.
that's coming at us like a steam train, that whole carbon footprint piece. And that's going to be really the next really, really big thing. And we're going to see new retail models emerge as a result of that. But you probably didn't realize I taught this much. But they also, the other thing that really emerged, and this is this dynamic shift, that the small guys in retail suddenly had all of the power, because the big guys couldn't change quickly, because if they want to make any changes, it's slow and it's really expensive and takes them ages to get everybody on board. Whereas the small guy, the guy who has just an e-commerce business, or the guy who only has one store or two stores, suddenly they can move quickly and they can take risks, and it's not expensive, and they can just make sugar honey iced tea happen. They can just make things happen. So suddenly there's this dynamic shift, and the smaller guy, it's the big sort of demigods like Amazon. You can't compete with them. That's we're all going to be living in an Amazon world. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's the middle tier of retailers. It's those big chains that had 200 stores that have borne the brunt of this. The small guys, actually, you've never had as much power as you have now, if you only realize it. Do you know?
And like I was mentioning, Marcia Reese jumped in, and with her copper, Staywell Copper is in Howard Kaufman with his oral mouth care.
Yeah.
These individuals, and what I see in my, just kind of sitting back, is that a lot of people are starting their own business. A lot of people are thinking about how they can actually do a side hustle or a small business, and because the delivery systems are in place, the ability to get online is in place, the audience and the communities are in place, and I love the idea of going back to this smaller, almost like a teaching environment where people are helping each other. Like you have a community like the Powerhouse community.
Yeah.
People are getting together in these communities and helping each other grow and provide feedback and information. And, we're all in a place where we can actually choose how we want to live, how we want to purchase, how we want to deliver our goods. And I think it's emerging in this arena. And it goes back to this idea of, I love walking cities. I love the ability to just go down to the market. I used to live in Seattle, right 2 blocks from the market, and go down there and buy some food and, groceries or whatever, and just walk home. And in the US, there's a lot of driving cities where you have to, go a few miles.
I think you're going to see it's going to shift back.
Yeah.
It's going to become, and there's a lot of work happening across Europe for this whole, 30-minute, everything should be accessible within a 30-minute walk. So localization is coming. It's already happening. So, for example, and I'm using Ireland as an example because it's easy for me, because that's where I'm sat right now. But in Ireland, the government has a strategy to they are putting a digital hub into every town. So if you're a millennial who's using an ironing board as a desk in your parents' house, because property is dear here, and you don't want to spend an hour and a half driving to get into the Dublin to get to work, there will be a digital hub you can just walk to and work close to home, but still have that semblance of connection with other people. And so there seems to be some really good future focused strategies emerging, but the future is that 10-minute to 30-minute walking city. That is, we're going to have to repurpose cities, because they're never going to be as intense as they were before the pandemic. I don't believe they will.
Have you seen any trends? And I don't know, locally or in Europe, these super big malls, in the US, I'm just thinking from the property owner's perspective, how they're going to repurpose some of these retail spaces that are, not necessarily doing exactly what they had planned on doing, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think it the we don't have too many of the super big ones here. What we've seen as we've started to reopen here is the big shopping centers that are on the main networking roads have done quite well, and the local towns are doing very well. And it's the city centers that have been the most, destroyed. I think the malls have a little bit longer to go because we're really at the beginning of that whole carbon footprint thing, but it's coming really quickly. So
Yeah.
so realistically, I sound like an environmentalist here, and I'm actually not. I'm just very watching what's coming at us, and the likelihood is that by the end of this decade, the likelihood is we will all be taxed on our personal carbon footprint, and that's going to massively impact how much people drive, and the way that people drive, the way that people travel. And I think we're going to see a lot of those miles. It's similar to the city centre piece, where it's going to have to be a combination of community. So I think we're going to go back. This actually could be a very good thing for humanity, that we're going to go back to more community-based living. And that's not a bad thing, do you know?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
It's like Jimmy Jam says, I'd rather be a speedboat versus a cruise ship. Course correction is much, much faster.
And and that's an analogy I actually use in a lot of the talks that I give. So the SME retailer, or the small retailer, is the speedboat, and those big legacy retailers, they're like the big tankers. They just can't. They can't adapt to change quickly.
No.
So yeah, if you're a small retailer, this is your moment, and you've probably not had as good a moment in about 30 years. And so I'll give you, and it's not all just about getting a website, by the way, although digitalization is happening really quickly. Social commerce is actually the fastest growing channel.
Social commerce?
Social commerce through social media.
Talk about that. Expand that a little bit, Miriam.
So social commerce is we saw lots of small businesses trade really, really well despite being closed. Because they went on social media and said, hi, this is me. This is who I am. This is my business. Let me show you what I have to sell you. And you didn't need to have a website to do that. There was Messenger, there was WhatsApp, there was so many different ways. There was one chap, and I always use him as an example, and if he's watching this, he's going to be cringing right now. So hello. And he owns an electrical store locally to where I live, and it's a proper mom. It was his dad's store. The business is 75 years old, and he's been behind the counter for 42, 43, and he's such the most gorgeous gentleman. I've never seen him not wearing a suit. He's a very gentle, lovely gentleman. And when the pandemic hit and we were all shut, because it all happened very instantly, and we were all kind of in shock.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have forgotten how free fall it was at the beginning and how terrifying it was. But he wasn't really on social media, and he didn't have a website. But he went out every day on Twitter, and he tweeted every day. He tweeted, "My doors are closed, but my phone is on," and then a picture of a product every day. And what really happened was, getting goosebumps. Every time I tell the story, I get goosebumps. What happened was, people felt that he was with them. Do you know what I mean? There was such authenticity to his messaging, and he had a cracking year last year. Now, saying that, same man, Kevin, and apologies, Kevin, for talking about you. Kevin, so he's on Facebook now, he's on Instagram now, he's on TikTok, man. On TikTok. His first TikTok got 40,000 views.
Holy cow.
And
congratulations to
Kevin. He launched his website. So,
and that's the beauty of where we are in the world right now. And that's that's what I do with this live stream. I get up, I have a little gratitude for the fact that I have electricity and a house and food, and all my needs are taken care of realistically. I've been a remote worker for over a decade, and I've been a remote worker over the years many times. And the reality is that we are moving into a direction that allows a lot of people to make decisions that they've never had before in the past. And somebody that can just go out on social media, build up a community, build up a following. And really, it's about people working with people, people buying from people, people.
It really is. Authenticity is one of the most important things. People are going to want to know who they're giving their money to in the future, and authenticity is everything. And this is the superpower of the smaller business at the moment. And that, for every one of those big businesses that had a hard time, there were a lot of those, the An Post, which is the Irish Postal Service, delivered 14 million parcels in December. Now, we're a small country. There's less than 5 million people in Ireland. So, as a country, we're the size of a city somewhere else, So, and outside Dublin, we're pretty spread out, across the arteries. Yeah. But An Post, who is our postal service, delivered 14 million parcels, which was a record for them. They barely coped, Wow. 14 million parcels. But 7 million of those parcels came from Irish retailers, which is amazing. That's like a massive shift here. Yeah. So that means that the strategy around getting everybody digitalized was the right one. And essentially what the pandemic has done, and I'm quoting a retail futurist here, a guy called Doug Stevens. He talks about the pandemic being a bit like a wormhole. So what happened is we've all witnessed the end of the industrial age. Yeah. We've just witnessed it. So we are now in the digital age, but we're right at the beginning of the digital age, and it's just going to get faster. Mm-hmm. So there's I'm kind of a bit of a nerdy person, so I'm kind of watch everything in a bit of a curious, like, this is like, wow, this is bananas, look at what's happening. But the amount of innovation we are seeing come into the forefront is amazing. And people, like Kevin was a bit bored in his business before the pandemic and was a bit, do I want to still be doing this? Right. And completely re-energized. Ironically, a pandemic came and it was, it's like a comet hitting him sideways, and he had to focus, and he's having a great time now. He's actually really re-energized and enjoying his business.
I really love the idea that someone can actually, the transformation is going to be one way or the other, depending on our perspective and our vision. And for myself, I have never been busier. I mean, I've got a lot of things, a lot of projects going on, a lot of client work, and a lot of different projects that I have started up. And it's the same thing. It's like, how can we build a strategy around changing what we're doing and how we're doing it? And I think that's so important for people to understand that you can do this, be in control of your future. You set the trend, set the pace, set the position for your business. And I think that's so important. And I just want to remind people, Howard Kaufman jumped in as well. I mentioned Howard Kaufman. Great point on the number of decisions we all face. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're raising something really important there, Ross, around mindset, because mindset is actually, if you have a very fit. So for all those retailers I'm talking about, and I worked with lots of retailers who had a cracking year last year, despite being closed for most of it. But it is, a lot of it is around mindset. It doesn't, change can be really hard, and some people are more open to it than others. Though for every retailer that was down there sweating and making sugar honey iced tea happen, so to speak, there were other retailers that just closed the door and said, "Wake me up when it's over." So so I do think there is a piece here about mindset and being open to change. And last year was a very scary year for a lot of businesses, myself included. Like, my business is a completely different business than it was a year ago. I think I'm stronger for it. The fact that a lot of the aspects of my business came out of need. The first few months of the pandemic was a free fall. I was just like, where can I be useful? And it really was just about seeing where you could be as useful as possible and help, because that gave me something to hold on to, because we were all in free fall for those. If you think back to March, I remember being in a coffee shop when Taoiseach made the announcement, which was essentially to go home. And I was very lucky. I was with my best friend, and we walked to our cars together and hugged, and we didn't see each other for a year. Wow. Do you know? And I remember stopping at every cash point on the way home going, just in case we have to run for the hills. And then nobody would take your money because money was dirty, you know? So
but you bring up an excellent point though. You had to sit back, you had to reflect on what resources you had. And the first place you went to was, how do I add value to the world and fit into this new environment? And I think that's so key for people to pick up on and make sure they understand. How do I add value to the world?
Yeah, for me it was I saw I had a lot of things booked, so I would do a lot of talking about retail. Not you would never guess I talk for a living, would you? I would do a lot of talking about future trends and things like that. And suddenly, and I was booked to go and speak in all of these places, and that just went woof. It was gone in 3 days, and I watched my income just disappear. So for me, it was actually it gave me great comfort and I probably it wasn't even rational at the time. It wasn't even that strategic. I was just like feeling useful helped me manage myself. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it was work, and I, you know, I'm in a reasonably small, well, it's a big town by Irish standards, but I'm, you know, involved in the Chamber of Commerce there and things like that. So there were a lot of people phoning me, panicking and going, help. So it was easy for me to be useful.
Yes, it was easy. I want to remind people that let me make sure that I got so involved in your conversation that I forgot to mention that Miriam's going to give away an ebook. Is that what you're saying?
I am. So I launched an ebook in at the end of March, and it's based on a program that we did very successfully with lots of retailers called Retailing in a Pandemic. So the ebook is called Retailing Through Uncertainty: Time to Thrive. And what was I going to say? So I'm happy to give a free copy to
Yes. So if you're in the stream today, and you're you know, people come and go, so I apologize that I didn't put this up earlier, but type in hashtag Pirate Nation, and we're going to do this giveaway at the end of the show. So I know that it's an amazing conversation. I know that we could talk many hours on this topic, and I really love the idea that so many amazing things are taking place, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I just see more opportunity as a result, not because of anything but change. You know, there's a lot of change going on, and anytime there's change, there's opportunity. So what are some other trends that, just to recap on some of the trends that are taking place? What other trends? We talk about growth, localization, green.
Localization. We're seeing, so from a media and retail point of view. Well, from a retail point of view, what we're seeing is retail is blending with media. So we're seeing more people on Facebook saying, let me, you know, I watched a lady live streaming from a boutique last week on Facebook, and she had a filter on her face that had given her a full beard, and everybody was falling around laughing and then opening their wallet and spending lots of money. So lots of live streaming is the future. So we're going to see a lot more live streaming, and we're going to see people getting paid to do live streaming where they're just showing product and trying on product. So but we're seeing this whole, the dynamics of retail are changing. So it used to be that you would have a website, and the website was about pushing people to the store. What's going to happen is the store will be about pushing people to the website. So people will come into a store, but they're coming in for the human connection. They're coming in for a really fantastic experience, but they may go away and spend on this, you know? So, or they may actually spend on their phone in the store while they're in the store, but it's going to be harder to measure, you know? So it isn't store versus digital. The store is still really important, but the actual function of the store is going to change. And then we're seeing a lot more retail turn up in all sorts of media. So have you ever heard of Roblox? It's a kid's game. It's like the Lego of this generation. So when my eldest child was at the small, it was all about Minecraft. Now it's Roblox. So Roblox is kind of like a digital Lego, and there's millions of kids on it. And what they do is they build games, and they can share games with other kids, and it's a very creative space. So you can now buy a pair of Gucci sneakers to wear on your character in the game for $20.
The emotion, there's entire stores like you can purchase items for your virtual people.
Well, I actually saw a thing on LinkedIn this morning, which was that somebody had paid more money for, I think it was a Gucci handbag, than to have in the game Roblox. They paid more money for the Gucci handbag than it would have cost them to have a physical handbag. Bear in mind that handbag they just bought, they will never have. Or it's right. For an avatar in a game to carry around. So we're seeing this whole blend of retail is becoming media, and it's becoming entertainment, and I'm like fascinated, excited, terrified, everything at the same time when I watch what's happening.
Yeah. Marcia says, as vendors in this new world, we will ship direct to consumer or to the store's distribution centers.
Do you know, that's quite a hard question. So there are a few. So if you look, Nike and Adidas is now following suit. So we're seeing a lot of the really big super brands move to a D2C, a direct to consumer strategy. And that is, and you can actually see the impact that is having on retail. So for example, JD Sports, which is a UK company, they're based in Manchester in the UK. They've been buying up a load of American chains actually recently. They bought, is it DTLR very recently?
Yeah.
So they've been buying up. So you can see, so what Nike are doing is they're massively shrinking the amount of retailers that they are stocking now, because it's far more profitable for them to have their own amazing stores and to sell directly to the consumer digitally. So D2C is a really big trend for the bigger brands. So yes, the whole distribution piece is dynamically changing also. So Marcia, you are absolutely right there.
And Howard brings up the point that Amazon now introducing more entertainment in the online shopping space too, with their Amazon Live. And now they just purchased, what was it? The big media company.
When I think of Jeff Bezos, I actually think of a Bond supervillain. I expect him to spin round in a chair with a cat on his lap. So if you remember do you remember the movie? I'm showing my age here. Back to the Future 2. Do you remember the movie?
Yeah.
And do you remember he goes to the future and Biff owns the world?
Yeah.
So there's Biff Cinema, Biff Road. We're going to end up living in an Amazon world. Yeah. We are. There's very little, like he owns the Ring doorbell. He actually even owns the data companies and cloud services that his competitors use. And it is too late. This man has too much power. He's a very clever man, but that's a business that's of a serious scale. So yeah. I anticipate that in the future, we're all going to be living in a little Amazon bubble. Like, Amazon will be providing my caregiver when I'm older. And, so I'm joking about it, but actually, I think that's the truth. I think.
Well, they do landscaping and yard service as well. So.
Oh, very good.
I know we've got to wrap it up here, and I just love the fact that we had this conversation, and thank you so much for doing this. If there's anything that anyone could take away from this conversation, what would it be, Miriam?
I would say have courage. In the words of the Wizard of Oz and the Cowardly Lion, lean into your courage, because if ever there was a time to take the odd risk, this is it. And I think being brave nearly always repays. So I would be brave. I would, particularly for any retailers that are listening, this really is your time. So yeah. you can be nimble. When you're a smaller retailer, you can be really nimble. You can try things, and if they don't work, so what? Try something else. Do you know? Yeah. Life is a rich tapestry. So
it is so rich. It is so rich.
Yeah.
Well, right now, if you haven't typed in hashtag Pirate Nation, now is the time to do it. Type in hashtag Pirate Nation, and Miriam's going to give away an ebook on retail and some subjects that you want to know about. So let's connect and collaborate. If you're not connected with Miriam, also reach out. Where's the best place to connect with you, Miriam?
So you can get me on LinkedIn. I'm a bit of a LinkedIn chick. Miriam Simon on LinkedIn, or you can. And now I'm terrible on Instagram. So actually, if you've enjoyed this chat, please follow me on Instagram. Miriam_PTO.
I love it. I love it. So let me get this up here and let's share this out. Make this happen here today. I love it. Okay, we're going to draw. And the winner is James Jimmy Jam. How you doing, James? Thank you so much. This is awesome. I love it. I love it. And I'm sure that we could actually probably connect with a few other people here as the replays start up. So, Miriam, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah, lovely to talk to you, and have a great day. You're just beginning your day. I'm away for a cup of tea now in the afternoon.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, have a wonderful weekend, a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend as well.
Yeah, you too. Lovely to talk to you today.
Yeah. And always, everyone, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. And you enjoy the day.
You too.
Don't go away. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.